Well, hello, hello, hello. Your girl, I am back. I made it. I made it. You know what? No matter how much you might prepare for something, you're never ready. You are really never ready. Because I swear I was getting everything together and then I get on and it wasn't ready. And I know I was ready, but it is what it is. So thank you for taking the time out to listen to me today while you're doing something amazing in your life right now, washing dishes, yelling at somebody, cleaning. I don't know, just doing something to distract you. Anyway, I hope your day is going well. I can't complain. I didn't really do too much of nothing. I mean, I worked. And then I was happy when I got off. That's really all that I did. And then I wanted to come on and do this because this is something that I am enjoying. So what can I say? Oh boy. So let me begin by saying I didn't even know that Will Smith had a movie coming out. So I want to show you guys the trailer for that. I might talk about the Young Thug. Hold on, my microphone a little too loud. This might be a little bit better. Cause that was a little too loud in my ear. Okay, is it the excitement? Hold on. Okay. So, I don't know if I want to. I mean, I saw the Young Thug in part three. I just didn't even feel like doing all that. And then he had a video that dropped, so I might show that. I don't know if I feel like pulling that up, but I did want to see. Now, mind you, I haven't looked at any of this stuff because I wanted to, you know, view it with the viewers, which is like it's two of you guys. So, okay, thank you. Also, did you guys know that ICE is doing something strange? They're gonna be activating a spyware or reactivating a spyware to put on your phone, French Montana, and also Florida. I have my 3D printer going on in the back. If you hear this little noise or whatever, um, I have found a love for 3D printing. And so I thought of something that I need because I need it. And so I'm trying to create that. And so hopefully I can create this item that I need to use that I cannot find anywhere. And hopefully, you know, if I can get it out of my mind and actually into an item, because I've drawn out some designs and stuff. So hopefully I can get this done. This is my fourth machine because I am new to 3D printing, and so you know, to uh, I'm rambling, but yeah. Once I'm done, if it's cute, I'm gonna show you guys. So yeah. All right. So the first thing that I would like to show you guys. Let's go down there to Florida because Florida never disappoints. So we're going to take a look at this and then show your thoughts after. Wait a minute.
Florida announced a plan to ban all state vaccine mandates. This followed declining vaccination rates across America and a return of measles, a disease that had been 25 years ago declared eliminated. But the continued use of vaccines did get a healthy boost from none other than President Trump, who seems to accept the overwhelming consensus of the medical community, which is that vaccines are safe and effective. Here is how President Trump responded to Florida's decision on Friday.
You have some vaccines that are so amazing. The polio vaccine, I happen to think, is amazing. A lot of people think that COVID is amazing. I think you have to be very careful when you say that some people don't have to be vaccinated. Look, you have vaccines that work. They just pure and simple work. They're not controversial at all. And I think those vaccines should be used. Otherwise, some people are going to catch it and they endanger other people. And when you don't have controversy at all, I think people should take it.
Joining us now is the Surgeon General of the state of Florida, Dr. Joseph Ladapo. Dr. Ladapo, thank you so much for joining us. You just heard President Trump say that if a state were to remove vaccine mandates, quote, that other people will catch it and they endanger other people, unquote. So obviously, you think that President Trump is wrong?
You know, I'm not sure that I agree with you. Actually, I'm sure I don't agree with you in terms of what President Trump said. You know, there's some confusion about what we said. We're not taking vaccines away from anyone. What we said was that if you want them, God bless you, you can have as many as you want. And if you don't want them, parents should have the ability and the power to decide what goes into their children's bodies. It's that simple.
So as you know, the medical community really disagrees with your position in general. Your predecessor, former Florida Surgeon General Scott Rivkees, criticized your plan. He warned that, quote, children in Florida will now be more at risk of vaccine-preventable illnesses than at any time in recent history. And he says it's not just Florida children that you are putting at risk, but you're also putting at risk the entire broader U.S. population. What's your response to him?
Yeah, so you know, Dr. Rivkees was my predecessor here at the Department of Health, and you know, it's a great. There's a lot there, and I think first of all, it's important to remember that there are countries out there that don't have vaccine mandates for school. Sweden is an example of a country like that. The United Kingdom, I believe, is another example. I think Denmark also. And guys, the sky is not falling over there. So the whole idea, I mean, do you not believe that parents are incapable of making decisions with the information that they receive from their pediatricians? Because either you don't believe that parents can make good decisions for their children, or you know, or the position just doesn't make sense.
I'm looking at this report from your department from April showing that more people in Florida are seeking religious exemptions for vaccines, and at the same time, Florida is seeing rising cases of hepatitis A and whooping cough and chickenpox. This is in your own report, your own department's report. Before you made this decision to try to lift vaccine mandates for Florida, which include obviously public schools, did your department do any data analysis? Did you do any data projection of how many new cases of these diseases there will be in Florida once you remove vaccine mandates?
Absolutely. So absolutely not, because it's not you know, you mentioned whooping cough there. So there's this conflation of the science and sort of what is the right and wrong thing to do. So scientifically, you mentioned whooping cough. So that's an example. This is part of the issue with informed consent. That's an example of a vaccine that is ineffective. The data show that it's ineffective at preventing transmission. So sort of mandates with that really don't have anything to do with the notion of transmission. And then in terms of, you know, like analysis, well, ultimately, this is an issue very clearly of parents' rights. So do I need to analyze whether it's appropriate for parents to be able to decide what goes into their children's bodies? I don't need to do an analysis on that.
So you're trying to lift the vaccine mandate in Florida, and your department and you did not even do a projection as to how this could impact public health. So you have not prepared hospitals in the Florida counties most at risk with the best treatments for any outbreaks of measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough, polio, and you have not looked into how many kids might now get these preventable diseases? That's what you're saying?
No, that's what you said. What I'm saying is that it's an issue of right and wrong in terms of whether parents should be able to have ultimate authority over what happens to their kids' bodies. And in terms of outbreaks, we do have outbreaks in Florida, just like every state, and we manage those. So there are no new special procedures that need to be made.
Right, but you're talking about doing something that no other state has done.
We manage them just as always.
But you're talking about doing something that no other state in the United States has done and removing the vaccine mandate for public schools. You're making a decision that no other Surgeon General in the United States has done. It goes against what's recommended by every top medical organization, including the AMA, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Boston Center on Emerging Infectious Diseases. It goes against what parents in Florida want. 82% of parents in Florida schools said public schools should require vaccines for measles, and polio with health and religious exemptions. It goes against what Senator Rick Scott, a Republican from Florida, wants. He thinks sticking with a religious exemption is fine. It goes against the Florida Medical Association, which in the past has backed Governor DeSantis. So all of these people are wrong, and you are right.
Again, sort of casting it in that way is not what I would do. Is not how I look at it.
It's a fact.
You look at the last. I would say what I would say is that, my history, if you will, is I share what I believe is the right thing to do, whether it's popular or not. You have sovereignty over your body. I mean, that's where it starts, and you should be able to decide what you put in your body. And if you can't decide what you put in your body, I mean, what do you actually, what can you decide?
I know a veteran of the war in Iraq. He's a big Trump supporter. He's a big MAGA guy. He has a kid who is immunocompromised, who cannot get vaccinated. It does not have a strong enough body to take an immunization. He is relying on the kids in his class to be vaccinated so he doesn't get those diseases. That's what President Trump was referring to in his comments. What is your message to the parents of immunocompromised kids who are relying on most kids being vaccinated so their kids are safe? You talk about liberty and freedom for parents, but it seems like you're removing liberty and freedom for the parents of kids who are immunocompromised.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to conceive that, to sort of describe that, but I don't think that's the dynamic at all. Ultimately, obviously, we're all very sympathetic to children and families who have to deal with chronic illnesses. And, I'm a parent. We care about our kids more than anything. At the same time, it's important to recognize, just the difference between right and wrong. And ultimately, however, whatever the challenges are, and by the way, the challenges for being immunocompromised, I mean, they're really significant, and they extend way beyond just the diseases that we have vaccines for.
Did you vaccinate your kids?
Jake, really briefly, I'll just say one other thing. Jake, just really briefly, one other thing. Again, this whole, Florida hasn't done any analysis, that's nonsense.
You said you hadn't done any projection.
We don't need to do. The way you're portraying it is nonsense. We don't need to do any projections. We handle outbreaks all the time. So there's nothing special that we would need to do.
All right, Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo, thank you so much for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Let's bring in Dr. Paul Offit. He's a virologist and a pediatrician who is a member of the CDC Vaccine Advisory Committee and has fiercely disagreed with HHS Secretary RFK Jr.'s criticisms of vaccines. Dr. Offit, what's your reaction to what you just heard from the Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo?
He's confusing two things. First of all, Florida has a religious exemption to vaccination. If you don't want to be vaccinated in Florida, all you have to do is fill out a one-page form. When he's talking about eliminating mandates, he's talking about eliminating one of the two most important weapons he has during an outbreak, which is mandates and quarantine. If there was an outbreak in a school, as there was last year in a Catholic school in Florida, if you're not going to mandate vaccines, if you're going to say you can come into this school even if you're not vaccinated, he is going to have a very hard time controlling those outbreaks. I mean, school entrance requirements have been on the books for decades, but in the 1970s, they weren't enforced. And so you had these massive outbreaks in Los Angeles, Detroit, Alaska. And it wasn't until you had school entry requirements, mandates, before you got on top of that. And as you know, as a Philadelphian, in 1990 to 1991, we had a massive outbreak in Philadelphia, 1,400 cases, 9 deaths. It wasn't until we mandated vaccines for school entry which allowed us to stop those epidemics.
So many of the decisions when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to mandates, have to do with data, cost-benefit analysis. If there's a medicine that hurts 1 out of every 2 million people but helps everyone else, just that kind of comparison. Were you surprised when he admitted that he had not done any sort of data projection as to what the results of this vaccine mandate could be?
Yes, here's what upsets me the most. You have this tension between, on the one hand, public health and medical freedom. He is representing the medical freedom movement, which is to say, I'm going to do what's best for my child. I don't care about how that affects somebody else. Whereas in public health, you do care about the person next to you. And I think President Trump alluded to that. He has just seriously crippled his ability to get on top of epidemics should they occur. And given that attitude, I have no doubt they will occur.
All right, Dr. Paul Offit, it's always good to have you on. Thank you so much, sir.
So, you know what? I don't really know how to feel about this. I think that Florida is a different state. And every day, they prove to be a different state. No matter what, I don't see the purpose behind removing the vaccinations. I do understand and respect that people have the right, but your right shouldn't infringe on other people's rights. So we need to find a happy medium, but just, sometimes I think people put people in places to do things that go against the grain, right? Like, somebody said that he would be the perfect person to put into that position because they probably knew his ideology on vaccinations and stuff. And so why not? Kind of like how they say, when you look at presidents, like who really did the most attacks, and you'll actually be surprised by who ordered the most attacks. But then when you look, you will see, well, of course, he would be the one who committed the most, criminal offenses because, that's just what they do, right? So, anyway, I keep forgetting y'all can hear that noise. So, speaking of, since we're already talking about that, I do want to bring up this. I'm going to try this tone right here and see how this works. So, take a look at this video, and this is just about what's going on over in the Congo, right? And there's a lot going on in the Congo, and I am really thinking about doing like a little think piece on the Congo because I don't think enough people pay attention to it. And so I might do that if I have time. But yeah. So yeah, take a look at this.
A deadly and an all too familiar shadow has fallen over Central Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo has declared a new outbreak of Ebola, with at least about 15 people already dead. In a country pushed to its limits by conflict, health teams are now in a pretty desperate race to contain one of the world's most feared diseases. Now, Ebola is a hemorrhagic fever born from a virus. It is transmitted to humans from animals. Fever, muscle pain, vomiting, diarrhea. A cruel progression leads to internal bleeding, organ failure, and it spreads through blood and bodily fluids and not by air. The patients remain infectious once symptoms appear, making rapid isolation vital. Now, for the Democratic Republic of Congo, this is alarmingly familiar terrain. Ebola has struck repeatedly. There have been 15 Ebola outbreaks since 1976. Violence, poverty and mistrust make containment brutal. Health workers face danger. Local communities resist. Supplies run short, and the fragile system frays under each crisis. The global responders have mobilized the World Health Organization, which is deploying experts, testing labs, PPE treatments and the ERVEBO vaccine to stem the tide. Community outreach and surveillance are also being ramped up. And yet, as Congo continues to fight on, the virus knows few limits, threatening lives and draining hope, and raising fears of yet another catastrophic spread.
Nous devons nous laver les mains régulièrement. Toute la population, nous devons, sans cela.
And our correspondent Luza Olani has sent us this report. Listen in.
Through a 34-year-old pregnant woman detected a few weeks ago DRC is once again faced with the Ebola surge, as about 28 suspected cases with over a dozen deaths recorded so far, including health workers. Thankfully, lab tests have confirmed the Zaire strain of the Ebola virus, a highly deadly but vaccine-preventable variant. But the challenge now is deploying logistics to get vaccines to every corner. Now, authorities say the WHO teams are already supporting the response, deploying experts and medical supplies needed to protect health workers and care for patients. This is the first Ebola outbreak in the DRC since 2022, when a smaller outbreak in Equator province was contained in under 3 months. Health officials are leaning on the country's extensive experience with Ebola, but with transmission ongoing, case numbers are expected to rise. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olani, we on World is One.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So I would like to just remind my traveling girlies, stay safe. Take your hand sanitizer. Make sure that you take. Matter of fact, what is this stuff right here? Because I keep it right behind me. It's that microban. It's a 24-hour bacteria, and it's sanitizer. I spray everything down, especially when you have like, like if you have like a contract or something come in, and they just touch on any and everything. So I would say just get you some of that stuff so that you can spray it around. It's that microban, I spell micro ban, BAN. So and it's 24 hours, come in a green and blue canister. Get you some, and take some with you. And another thing that I do, if I know I'm going somewhere where like my luggage, because I'm a like traveler in a sense, and if I'm going somewhere where the luggage I know, okay, I don't know if y'all can hear me or not. Okay, it might have been playing in the background, so I'm gonna repeat what I was saying. Ladies, please be careful when you are traveling. Get you some microban, BAN. It's in a blue and green canister. It's a sanitizing spray. It lasts 24 hours. It has been tested. It is proven. They use it in hospitals. Another trick of the trade is if you are when you travel, send some stuff by mail. Like just mail it to the hotel and just have them hold it for you. And that way, like for certain things that you just really don't want to travel and have to carry. You get what I'm saying? And then just send it on over. I do it all the time. Okay, so we've talked about Florida removing the vaccine requirements, which is just absolutely crazy. Ebola going on down uh, in the Congo. Now let's move on over to. Okay, I'm gonna do not so good news, not so good news, somewhat good news. Yeah, take a look at what French is over here doing.
French Montana just signed the craziest prenup ever with a Dubai princess. And the last clause, you won't believe it. First, when it comes to property, Sheikha owns a royal inheritance and her perfume empire, massive wealth. The prenup makes it crystal clear. French can't touch a single dime. All of it goes to her eldest daughter and future kids. Meanwhile, French's net worth is only a quarter of the princess's. Second, the prenup says all kids must be Muslim and must take UAE citizenship first. A French passport, that's just an option. This is royal tradition, no negotiating. And finally, on a cultural level, it's not mandatory, but if French wants a happy marriage, he has to respect Islamic culture. Lately, he's been rocking traditional UAE robes, and honestly, he looks more natural than some locals. Some say it's love, that a rap superstar is ready to completely change himself to fit into his partner's world. So, what about you? If you
Let me tell you something. If he love it, I love it. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's all about who loves you. And that girl probably love her some him. You hear what I'm saying? 'Cause, Yeah, he went from hanging out with the diddler, and now he got him a little old Dubai princess. And you know when I was watching this movie, um, matter of fact, it's from 2023. It's with Michael J. White, and it's it's like one of those. Remember back in the day where they used to do like um those black spoof movies. Uh, what was the name of that movie? And I'm trying to think but yeah, he was a Michael J. White. It was 2023. It was a movie. Let me see here. But anyway, they have one scene where the guy ends up going. Let me see here. I think he played a cowboy. He played uh, a reverend or something like that. Anyway, um, oh, outlaw Johnny Black. So I guess they had it was an original back in the day because they had James Brown or Jim Brown and another guy at the end, right? And so yeah, it's called Outlaw Johnny Black. And it's called Once Upon a Time. And when I tell you, I actually enjoyed that movie. And Tommy Davidson was in there, and I'm a big fan. Tommy Davidson was in it. I can't remember the name. Anika Noe Rose. She's in it. I can't remember. She was matter of fact. She was the girl that was in Dreamgirls. She was the third lady in Dreamgirls. I've never seen Dreamgirls, but when I tell you that movie was funny, you had who else was in there? Kim Whitley was in it. Um, Jill Scott, she was in it. It's worth it. So if you get a chance, go and check it out. It was actually pretty. It was actually pretty cool. 'Cause I'm not really into like those old school thingamariggers. But the point is, they have a lady that's in the movie who she married. It's an Indian, and she marries one of the black guys. But it's not really a lady; it's a man. But it's supposed to be portrayed like just an ugly woman that looks like a man, but in the movie it's just a man dressed up like like a woman because the Indian everybody treats it like a woman, like it's a woman, right? That's who his fiance looks like. That's who the princess looks like. Oh my God, was I talking the whole time? Did y'all not hear anything that I was saying? Okay, work with me. There's this movie called Outlaw Johnny Black. In the movie, there's a scene where Johnny Black meets a reverend. Indians attack. Johnny Black takes off because he assumes that the reverend is dead because he's shot in the heart with an arrow. However, when the Indians go to retrieve the body, he's not dead. It was a Bible. So when he wakes up, because I guess he just passed out from the shock. So when he wakes up near this ugly girl, which is actually just a dude that's just, And so that's who French's fiance reminds me of. So if you ever, so just go, it's on, I believe it's on Netflix, but it's Outlaw Johnny Black. It's Michael J. White, Kim Whitley is in it, Tommy Davidson is in it. Y'all know him from In Living Color. It is funny. It's worth the watch. Go and check it out. Free plug. Okay, so now we done talked about the Ebola. We done talked about Florida and what I was doing something going on. Congratulations, Florida. Y'all always got something going on. French Montana signing his life away because what else is there for him to do? And then we're gonna go and talk about ICE and just something else. They cease to amaze me. I have a friend who he contacted me and he was like, I never feared like I did now. And his fear is you know, because he is Spanish, that even though he's been in America his whole life, never been outside of visiting like 2 times, but never been outside to the native land. And so then my dogs in the back, they're just dogs, right? And so he's very fearful because he said he was driving to work yesterday. Yeah, today's Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday the 9th of September, 2025. And he saw that someone was getting pulled over, but you know they were of a Latino, and he was just like, you know, I hope they didn't have anything in the car. And I'm like, they wasn't getting pulled over for that. Some people probably getting pulled at profiling. And the Supreme Court did vote, and I believe it was like 7-2 or whatnot or whatever. They won the vote that you can racially profile Latinos because of what's going on. So, you know, this is just we've always been in crazy times. We just always been in crazy times. So let me show you what ICE is doing now. Take a look.
Every once in a while, we want to bring you a story that is basically just a heads up, like set yourself a news alert on this term or this headline. This is something to watch. This is one of those stories. 4 years ago or so, back in 2021, a group of 17 different news organizations from all over the world, they teamed up for a dangerous, fascinating, interesting, huge reporting project. And it was about a new technology that was called Pegasus. And this was technology that was for spying on people. It was for espionage, but it was also for surveillance. It was basically spyware that could be installed on a person's phone. And while that isn't a new concept, what this Pegasus spyware could do was actually shocking, like kind of stop you in your tracks. Shocking. Some of the reporters who worked on this big, dangerous international reporting project about Pegasus, they described it for a really excellent Frontline documentary that aired on PBS. Watch.
Pegasus is designed to infect phones like iPhones or Androids, and once in the phone, it can extract and access everything from the device. It can even access the mic or the camera of your phone remotely.
It's like a person over your shoulder, a person who will see what you are seeing, a person who will watch what you are watching. Your emails, your encrypted communication, everything. So once you are infected, you're trapped.
Once you are infected, you're trapped. This Pegasus thing is basically total surveillance through your phone. And it's what they call a zero-click piece of spyware. You don't have to click on anything wrong or open something you're not supposed to open. You don't have to do anything wrong. They can just infect your phone with this thing without you knowing. And once they've infected your phone, they can access everything that is in your phone and everything you do with your phone. So they can see any of your apps, anything you're looking at, including anything that's encrypted. They can see and listen to all of your phone calls. They can see all of your photos. They can see your location, both in real time and any place you've ever looked up. They can see any notes that you have to yourself. They can see your email. They can see your texts. They can turn on the camera to watch you through your phone. They can turn on the microphone to record you through your phone, all without you knowing. The journalists who worked on this big international reporting project on Pegasus found that this technology was being used by authoritarian governments all over the globe to target hundreds of people, some of which, yes, were criminals, but the people targeted also included journalists and human rights activists and opposition politicians. Traces of that particular spyware were even found on a phone that belonged to the wife of murdered Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. So not long after that really disturbing reporting about Pegasus came out, the Biden administration put the company that made Pegasus, an Israeli spyware company, it put that Israeli spyware company on an official blacklist. But by then, other companies were already developing similar spyware. And then last year, October 2024, the Biden administration suspended and started reviewing a small $2 million contract with another company that had roots in Israeli intelligence, a small $2 million contract with ICE for a company called Paragon. In March 2025, this spring, reporting from Italy showed that spyware made by Paragon was turning up on the phones of immigration activists and at least one journalist and a friend of Pope Francis. Again, the company's called Paragon. The Biden administration last year stopped that company's contract with ICE. And that made a lot of sense when they did that in 2024. It made sense to stop that contract in 2024. It might make sense in 2025 for the US government to still not have contracts with firms like that, right? I mean, under American principles, like the right to privacy and free speech and peaceful protest and the Fourth Amendment prohibitions against unreasonable search and seizure, no-click spyware that can surveil everything about you without you knowing, it doesn't make that much sense for our government to have that kind of power. We don't want that stuff turning up on the phones of people in our country, right? Well, I said this was a heads up kind of segment. Here's the headline that gives us all the heads up on this. Quote, ICE reactivated its $2 million contract with Israeli spyware firm Paragon. This reporting from tech journalist Jack Polson was soon confirmed by Wired, and then it was confirmed by the Washington Post. And it does appear that the Trump administration has decided to reactivate the contract with that spyware company. The Washington Post reports that it's not clear why the contract has been reactivated or what exactly happens next or what ICE is going to do with this type of technology. The Post was unable to get comment from the company in question. But this company makes total surveillance technology of a type that has been linked to some of the scariest human rights abuses in the developed world. And of course, the news that Trump wants ICE to have it comes just as the Supreme Court has given the go-ahead for the Trump administration to restart roving immigration patrols in Los Angeles, in which ICE admits they're going after people on the basis of their ethnicity. It comes just as the Trump administration announces a new immigration blitz in the great city of Chicago. I mean, yeah, with what Trump is having ICE do and the possibility of ICE having access to this kind of technology, what could possibly go wrong, right? Set yourself a news alert on this company, Paragon. On this one, you are definitely going to want to watch this space.
Well. I think we see what's going on, and I think so many Americans are really just checked out. Not saying that that's a good thing because it's not a good thing, but a lot of this, you know, when I see comments and people are saying stuff like, where's the black community? Why aren't they saying anything? And I'm just like,
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Because I believe we tried our best to at least warn you of what was going on. But you guys, it was 10 toes down. Like y'all did it out of spite. You ever heard somebody say, I think you just alive to spite somebody? Like, you know, like when I hear you talk, it sounds like you just alive to spite them. You know? But anyway, so let's move on to some more entertaining news. I was wondering what was, okay, so you know they said, okay, listen. So you know Melyssa Ford ain't been on the Joe Budden show. And I don't watch the Joe Budden podcast because I just don't agree with anything that he says. And I've seen enough episodes to know. I'm going to beat the dog because there was absolutely no reason for her to bark. She just did that just to do it. Anyway, so take a look at this video that I found, which this is Jason Lee talking about Melyssa Ford or whatnot. I haven't seen the video, so we're going to watch it together, okay? Go.
Let me say that it really is disheartening to hear Melyssa Ford giggling in the background as we're hearing this, when I know I've seen you at the depths of your low. And when Blue Taluzma put the mildew from your bathtub all online, and you probably didn't like that. That was a low that you probably forgot now that you've moved back to New York City and where you guys have rats. But like, you can't forget where you come from. I have it. I'm going to let it out soon for you, Joe. It is going to be a workup. But then you also had people like Rory and Miles say that you didn't even pay them when they were working for you. But, you know.
Jason Lee calls out Melyssa Ford and threatens to expose Joe Budden. On the Jason Lee show, he called out Joe Budden for his dissing of McConan, but what he said was interesting. He took issue with Melyssa Ford laughing and highlighted how her former podcast co-host Blue posted Melyssa Ford's dirty room, the dirty bathroom, on Instagram. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Blue was Melyssa Ford's former co-host of I'm Here for the Food or something like that, and they had a crazy falling out that basically was about podcast dynamics, chemistry. It looked like Melyssa Ford thought Blue was some type of social climber who was trying to profit off of her background in the industry. And it was a pretty bad breakup. But what was even worse than the breakup between Blue and Melyssa Ford was the breakup between Jason Lee and Melyssa Ford. They have a crazy history dating back to their time on Hollywood Unlocked, which was a pretty good show at the time and got decent traction. But the two would have ownership issues and typical podcast drama that would tear them apart based on this clip here.
I loved her a lot. You know, I cared about her a lot as a friend. She gets into this car accident. She doesn't return to work, but she's outside.
She had just moved back to LA. She had just came through the lawsuit with Bravo. Didn't have nothing else going on. So I was like, okay, let's do this podcast. Fine. So I built Hollywood Unlocked. Now here's where the real problem started. I own Hollywood Unlocked.
Now, Melyssa Ford would also shed light on her time on Hollywood Unlocked later on a space in the Joe Budden community, especially with regards to how Jason Lee treated her, essentially saying that Jason was offering Ford up to the guests as some sort of sexual trophy.
It just always seemed like Jason was serving my vagina up on a plate. You know, maybe it was for jokes and stuff like that, but every time we had a male guest, there was an insinuation of flirtation and, hey, take her out on a date. I'm like, do I have a say in the matter here? But yeah, so I mean, I guess that's just kind of like a byproduct of having, I don't know, being in a male-dominated space. I don't know.
Now, it is interesting that that's how Melyssa Ford took it, but I wonder if because of Jason Lee's knowledge of Melyssa Ford's bedroom activities, he may have felt comfortable doing that type of stuff, or maybe he was just A-miking and trying to take the show to the next level. Now, Melyssa Ford seems greatly concerned about whatever information Jason Lee likely has on her. That's evidenced by this awkward moment on the Joe Budden podcast where she seems scared to death to talk about Jason Lee.
Jason Lee is under investigation allegedly for stealing over $50,000 in city funds to cover a Wild 'N Out event. Man, what do you think about this? Over there at Hollywood. How do you feel about this? Man? Mel always look like the lights just got cut on when somebody asked her question. Mel, are you awake, girl?
I am. I don't even know how to respond.
He's not going to get at you if you comment. That's what you concerned? We will fry him up.
I'm not concerned about that. I
give
don't
an
know.
opinion.
I'm here for it, but she's still stunned.
No, I mean,
don't worry about it, girl. It's fine.
My guess is Jason Lee really has the files on Melyssa Ford, so she does not want to ever go back and forth with Jason. In the industry, sometimes you open up to people and they may know about your past. And I think Melyssa Ford probably remembers her time in LA and is like, damn, I done gave all the files to Jason. He even has a platform like Hollywood Unlocked where he could do celebrity news. Like, this guy has an infrastructure to really be able to go to war with people if they ever cross him. Speaking of the files that Jason Lee may have, Jason hints that he also has info on Joe Budden. Now, Joe Budden is a bit of an open book, so I don't know what info Jason can have any more than what's already out there. But I guess we will see in the future. We also got to remember that Jason Lee and Joe have an interesting history, just like Jason Lee and Melyssa Ford. Joe and Jason did seem cordial at one point, But after Jason Lee interviewed Tahiri, where Tahiri revealed some things about Joe and their past, it appeared like Joe thought Jason Lee was part of Charlamagne's I Heart smear campaign. Now, I don't think the I Heart execs at the top brass over there led an actual smear campaign, but I wouldn't be surprised if Charlamagne's inner circle.
You know, I will say this. I am not aware of the situation between um, Melyssa Ford and Jason Lee as far as why she left Hollywood Unlocked. I mean, I heard the rumors, but you know, it is what it is. I thought they kind of put it to bed and they kind of, you know, they put it to rest, but I guess not. I will say that with the Stockton situation, I don't believe Jason Lee would put himself in a predicament where it would be traceable to come back to him. Now, mind you, don't get me wrong. It do look a little funny. It do look a little funny.
Wait a minute.
So I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think that, you know, but regardless to whether or not you know a female or a male's past, if you guys are having a business relationship, especially like a podcast or something, and you having guys come on, mind you, Melyssa Ford is a beautiful woman. She's always been beautiful. She's always been one of the it girls, especially in that industry. And to have these guys that some of them probably lust over her, this is probably their first time and only and last time ever being in the presence of this queen, and you offering them up, you know, we all know what that looked like. And so, Loki, you were creating a situation where she probably did have
Clutch the pearls. What a sneaky thing to do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? But I wish nothing but the best for Melyssa Ford. It just seems like she, no matter what goes on, she knows how to duck and dodge and get up out of that situation. And I love a female that can keep a hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like, do it, right? So let's go over to Paris, France. Let's go over there to the politics over there. I want to touch on a little politics because I want to show you guys what happens when Africa, or not even just Africa, but when one country in Africa unites. Now, mind you, other countries are uniting, but I just want to focus on this one country right now because Burkina Faso. Just take a look at this.
4 prime ministers in 20 months. What would be different about a 5th?
That is, I think, the question everyone's asking. And, I think the biggest question, as I heard from the previous correspondence here, is, which party can one even recruit from? We're hearing from Marine Le Pen, who's saying it's an obligation to dissolve the parliament. So, of course, she has her position. I've been reading that, the party leader for the Socialists is kind of angling for it. There have been many other, kind of the further left is saying that they will automatically vote, sent to censure the next prime minister. So, I mean, it's an open question. And yeah, I wish I could read some tea leaves here, but I fear that we're going to be dealing with more of the same.
Mm-hmm. Professor, in every iteration of this, there's always the question of the threat of the far right. Marine Le Pen on ice until she has some decision-making, some guidance from the appeals court about a 2027 run. Not enough confidence in Jordan Bardella. Is the national rally still a threat the way it was when Michel Barnier was ousted?
I think that's been the most kind of interesting point of this moment, to see that Marine Le Pen has shifted her discourse a little bit away from calling on Macron to, resign, because it's not in her interest for Macron to resign right now, because then she couldn't run. So, she's leaving it much more in a parliamentary domain. I think she's still very much focusing on, now that we know the appeals trial will be in January of 26, she's looking at a longer longer-term game here. I'm seeing from kind of man-on-the-street interviews of National Front or National Rally voters that they do want a new election, but that, now Marine Le Pen has to balance, some of the more kind of populist voters who want to disrupt the system with the more stable, market-focused, business community that has been less excited about her candidacy. And so, does she tilt the cart now in order to, impose her party, or does she hold her cards closer for a longer trajectory? It looks like that's where she's leaning right now because it plays in her interest. But it's true that there is a, sort of groundswell from a certain fraction of society looking for change. It may have come up a little earlier, but there's supposed to be a massive day of rallies on Wednesday that was planned before this vote. So there is this block everything movement announced. They're calling for tractors, to block the roads, and it's throughout France. And so, it's like, how is that going to play in? Do we have a new yellow vest movement? Is that going to mobilize or, kind of detract attention from this? I don't know.
Interesting. Well, when we consider what's about to happen, and you're pointing to Wednesday, which I'm very curious to see how this all plays out. Bayrou's obsession with cutting debt is what got us to this point. What would be the winning message for a successful prime minister?
I think that's the question that, I wish I had the answer again. It sounds like I'm hearing a lot of criticism on Macron for his tax cuts to the wealthy while also then proposing cuts to social services. So it sounds, like a lot of the debate is still going back to Macron in a way that the prime minister may not have as much control over. But in terms of, where does that leave us for the future? The prime minister will need to look at, what does the budget do with, defense spending? That's been a big topic, that impacts the Franco-American relationship. He needs to figure out, how do we balance Social Security reimbursements and retirement ages? So these are all different moving parts that have a negative impact on the budget. And I think that was Bayrou's point from the start. One of the surprising moments from his speech this morning was that he kind of altered the figure on France's overarching, national debt by adding, it went from 3.3 trillion to 3.4 trillion. So he's, kind of trying to play this responsibility card, but showing that, this is a very serious problem that no one has managed to solve. And, it's going to force a lot of really hard reckoning. There's been a lot of criticism that, one proposal was to cancel 2 holidays, one day from Easter and then from May 8th. Is that going to be enough to change France's economy? Hard to see that playing in, that doesn't play well with anyone, really.
Professor, did Bayrou have a choice here? He decided to pull the trigger on this himself.
Right. I think that is one of the most interesting aspects of this moment that, I'm coming back here in similar circumstances, but the details are actually very different, where Barnier was kind of solicited, he went through the executive orders style of budget negotiations, and then his government fell as a kind of punishment for that. Bayrou was doing something very different. He said from the start, this is a problem. Debt needs to be dealt with. Rise up to your responsibilities and do something about it. And so he is going out in a very different posture from some of the previous governments that have fallen. I found myself thinking that it was an interesting gesture that, he was challenging the delegates to live up to what he considered, a responsibility as elected officials. I'm not sure what his alternatives were, although that said, I've read some behind-the-scenes commentaries that he hasn't been as forthcoming with negotiations as, for example, the socialists were looking for. So he may claim, from one side that, I'm putting you in front of your responsibilities, work together, or I'm out. On the other hand, was he truly trying the backroom dealings of negotiating with all the different parties? hard to say. It looks like he did not want to find himself in the position of trying to, for lack of a better term, herd the cats of all the different parliamentary parties, the way Barnier did try to do, and, trying to please everyone meant that he pleased no one. I think it's interesting. I've read the idea and I've thought about the idea that it is in some ways similar to the gesture that Macron did in dissolving the parliament, where it's sort of a poker move, that it's a surprise. Macron called it throwing a bomb into the political sphere when he called those snap elections. Maybe it's the same thing.
You know what? She had a real good point. You trying to please everybody, you ain't gonna please nobody. And France is really losing it. I saw that they had a lot of a lot of job losses. France is small. They can afford to lose all those jobs. But I think a lot of those Africans, they will be going back home because they will have, jobs back at home. The country's taking back their mines and their minerals and refining everything from home. You're going to see a lot of Africans returning home, which is a great thing because, that's the only real reason why people do leave home is to go look for a better life. They don't want to scrimp and travel and do all that stuff now. So it is what it is.
Wait a minute.
I don't know. I just love that. So anyway, so before I get up out of here, let me show you guys this little clip.
20 years ago, a virus changed the world forever. I thought I was the only survivor.
Dr. Neville, I have something to show you. You're not going to believe it. I've honestly never seen anything like this. It looks like the virus is evolving.
We will burn down the city tonight, gentlemen.
What's left of the military is going to destroy everything. I'm sure we can still cure everyone. He's been lying to you the whole time. Told you were an orphan.
What is that?
Do you fly now?
Okay, I'm just kidding. It's just a concept, but wouldn't it be like kind of cute, right? So I saw that and I was like, you know what? I would love to see that because I did watch I Am Legend, and I thought it was, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a good movie. So anyway, let me do my little wrap up. So yeah, thank you for coming and listening, and I hope that you were able to achieve all your errands or duties while you were listening. I will be here Monday to Friday, 6:30 Central Time, and on Saturday, 7:30. Mind you, I might run a few minutes later too. You know what I'm saying? Don't shoot the messenger. I do not just do one particular topic. I also I am going to be uploading like my story times because I've been collecting different stories from people that I know as well as just strangers because yes, I am that type where I will walk up to you and say, hey, can you give me like a crazy story about somebody in your family? And I'm telling you, so I have read I think two of them. I have some audio that I haven't uploaded yet, but I'm gonna upload that. And then once I upload that, then I will be posting it, and it's gonna have like the name of what's in it. It takes a lot to get. It takes time to get all the videos and editing and all that other stuff. So, but I want to start pushing out more content. I have to do a lot of content over the next 30 days to start getting monetized. So if I don't make it in the 30 days, then it is what it is. However, the goal is to get monetized, and as you see, to get 100,000 subscribers. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take, but you know what I mean? I got time. As long as I got electricity, we can work. So I do want to thank you for coming in and listening, like, share, subscribe, submit a story if you have one. You can join me on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, on I do have my videos on YouTube as well. So all of it's under the name Wonderfree Chronicles because I just be wondering free about these chronicles that's going on in the world. And so I do thank you for coming in. And if you have any, if you ever feel like you want to pull up and have a conversation, hit me up. You know, you can join the live. You know, you wanna windmill, you want a cat fight, we can do all that. But yeah. So once again, thank you, and have a wonderful